My name is Zilungile Mkhize Kwitshana. I'm an honorary associate professor at the School of Medical Laboratory Sciences. I'm an immunologist. I work on the immunology of co-infections, technically how neglected tropical diseases, or in layman's, the worm infections, influence immune responses to HIV, TB, and also the development of cancer. What they do, because they are chronic in nature, they survive for a long time in the body, and in the absence of infection, some of them can live up to 25 years in a human host. And in that process, they actually manipulate the immune system so that they can survive long and do not die inside the host. In so doing, they also then dampen or lower the immune responses to HIV and TB. And we find that those who have these infections are then unable to control HIV, or they're also unable to then eliminate infections such as TB. And recently we are finding that because our bodies are constantly checking for cells that are becoming cancerous. So with this chronic immune suppression by neglected tropical diseases, our bodies are also unable to pick up and eliminate cancerous cells. So we have found that they are not only common in children, these worm infections, even adults who live in poorly resourced areas, because they are transmitted through the fecal oral route where there is no clean water supply, there's no proper sanitation. We have found that adults are even between 40 and 60% of adults in these areas are infected. And because they are not aware of these infections, one thing, they do not cause dramatic symptoms. So it's just mild symptoms and odd stomach cramps that are not even taken care of. And we have found that even in the healthcare system, the issue of adults being infected with worm infections is largely neglected because it's not heard of. So part of our work, in fact, in 2010, at the time where most of the resources were directed towards HIV and TB, there was total neglect of any interventions and any research on these neglected tropical diseases. So what we did together, I assembled a team of academics, and we approached the National Department of Health, and then I founded a national NTD control task team, and we provided evidence that these infections are actually causing more havoc on the very key diseases that are being targeted. So we then found an NTD task team. Part of our outputs where we contributed towards the establishment of the very first national deworming, school-based deworming campaign. When we constantly presented to the Department of Health, we then got the WHO on board. And what we do, we then go out to the communities and to the clinics to alert both the healthcare professionals and the communities on the silent but very serious effects of worm infections. We then educate them on how they can prevent, affordable and feasible preventative strategies, because some of these communities do not have an option but to use river water. So we educate them on how to boil and how to wash cans and how to even wash vegetables. So we've had about 3 reports now that have gone to the district health, because there's also a link with malnutrition. We've also found that those with these chronic worm infections actually have severe micronutrient deficiencies, because if you've got worms, you're not feeding yourself, you're feeding the worms. So we've reported on how then even their diets, we also found that there's micro deficiencies and there's also even macronutrient deficiencies. We've also even looked at their food intake, and we've given reports and showed the communities how these neglected tropical or worm infections actually form a vicious cycle because they influence your immune system negatively. They make you even more susceptible to other infectious diseases. So basically that is what our research is centered on, and we try and make sure that we give feedback to the communities and even to the healthcare workers themselves, because some of the especially newly qualified sisters, they were not even aware that worm infections are a problem in adults. So we try and make sure that we give feedback, not only in scientific publications, but also in lay communities as well as even healthcare professionals.